All right, welcome to the Veterans Club podcast. This is Jeffrey Osiris alongside my co-host, Miss Lakeisha Mosley. Today's conversation is going to be a very powerful one. Last week, I hope many of you felt inspired, like I did, by listening to the testimony of Chuck Tyler, who went from incarcerated to homelessness to becoming the CEO of a nonprofit. And I came away inspired because that showed me his resilience, right? Which is what veterans have, this story of resilience. Many times when we get out, we feel that our transition is tough, but it's a battle that we don't know. We've already proven ourselves with the soft skills, with being equipped, right? So I'm excited about bringing on this next guest because he has been through many battles on the battlefield and off the battlefield. Our next guest served over 25 years in the United States Army, and he spent a very significant time becoming a commander in the Special Operations community. He has deployed overseas to include Iraq and Afghanistan. He is also an ambassador at Morehouse. He is the founder and executive director of A Bridge to Light, disrupting the school to prison pipeline. And he's also the CEO of the Core 90 Network, working with high performing organizations and developing strategic solutions so they can solve one of their highest problems. So I want to welcome retired Colonel Dr. Lawrence Henry. Welcome to the Veterans Club, sir.
Oh, thank you so very much, sir. When you were talking, I was saying, I don't think he's talking about Joya's son.
and I read about that, and that showed your humility, sir. Like, I really appreciate how humble you are as well, because I read about your background. By the way, this man is very well published, and we're going to get into that later on today. So, Dr. Lawrence, I want to start with this first segment for the audience. Who was Dr. Lawrence before Dr. Lawrence, before retired Colonel Dr. Lawrence? Who was he? Where did you grow up? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, let's get beyond Dr. Lawrence. Let's get beyond Colonel Henry, and let's get to Little Larry. How about that? Let's get to Little Larry from East Orange, New Jersey, a small little city right outside of Newark, New Jersey. Who grew up single parent, Joya Henry. May God bless her. She was the one with the iron fist and the velvet glove. My mother had multiple sclerosis. And some vertigo issues when I was growing up, but she ran a very strict home, and in the 70s and 80s, things start turning in East Orange, New Jersey, and Newark, and she moved us to Long Branch, New Jersey, around the 80s and 90s, and this is when crack and gangs were really taking place. And my mother, she said, "Listen, Larry, the only thing I want you to do." Because her generation is the Vietnam generation. Only thing she wanted us to do, me particularly, was to graduate high school and don't go to jail. So I said, okay, I think I could do that. I think I could do that because all around me, there was violence, which I pride myself in being a violence interrupter currently. But there was a lot of drugs. A lot of drugs being sold by my peers, by people I looked up to, and so forth. So, but I could play a little football, so I was playing a little football in high school. So I made the first promise to my mother. I graduated high school, but I graduated high school with a 1.9 GPA, and I went back to my high school most recently and said, "Don't let anybody ever do that again." Because you gave me a platinum invitation, a golden path to the school to prison pipeline. By allowing someone to do that, you further facilitate or increase my possibility of failure. So, but I did graduate. I did graduate high school, and I played a little football at a school not too far from East Orange, not too far from Long Branch, called East Stroudsburg University in Pennsylvania. And there, stumbled into an ROTC building by accident, I needed some grades after pledging a fraternity, fraternity dude, fraternity guy, frat guy dude thing. And I needed some grades because I was not doing so well, and ran into a guy by the name of Master Sergeant James D. Rudolph. If you put Lewis Gossip Jr. and James D. Rudolph together, side by side, one is going to be the stunt double for the other. And he spoke to us that way. If you could just imagine the movie Officer and the Gentleman, he spoke the cadets that way. A chain smoker in the late 80s, inside the building. I mean, I'm sure there's policies somewhere, but not there. And he just really, he really believed in me where I didn't know why he did, but he saw something. He saw something in little Larry that gave me an opportunity to be Lieutenant Henry later on in 1993 when I graduated college with a speech communications degree and got assessed to be a military intelligence officer, which at that time was pretty difficult to get because you have to perform at a unique level. So that's me in a nutshell. But also, I also my don't quit spirit speaks to those cold streets of East Orange, New Jersey, those cold streets of Long Branch, New Jersey, which just going back and forth to the store to get my mother a pack of Cools, a pack of cigarettes. That is what created that never say die spirit, because those streets were cold.
So I was going to say, I mean, learning about your mom, I would say if I had my mom like that, because my father was just like that, I would have freaking been went to school all the time and done my grades and got all that. So it sounds like mom did something right, because look what you have become here, Lawrence. And I want to thank everyone here for listening. For those of you that just joined us, we are here talking with retired Colonel Dr. Lawrence Henry about his battle on and off the battlefield. So, Dr. Lawrence, so real quick, why did you join the Army, though? I'm curious. We always ask folks this question. Even though yesterday was the Army's birthday, yeah. I'm curious to know why. But by the way, shout out to the Army. Happy birthday. You guys don't celebrate like Marines do, but you guys are always welcome at the Marine Corps Ball. Just saying. So tell me, why did you join the Army?
Well, first, the Army's birthday unfortunately pales in comparison to the celebration that the Marines have with respect to their birthday. So a big shout out to the Army's birthday yesterday. What compelled me to join the Army? At the time when I back in 1991, again, I wasn't doing so well in school, in college. My mom, I had a boyfriend who she later married named Mr. Chisholm. Clifford Chisholm, and he was in the New Jersey National Guard. And I saw what the New Jersey National Guard was doing. I was like, hey, I could kind of do this, So I went home one day and told mother, hey, listen, I'm dropping out of school. I'm going in the Army, and she just went bananas. I mean, Hurricane Joya, that's my mother's first name. Hurricane Joya was brewing, and it was not nice for anybody in the house, to include Clifford. As defiant as I was, I didn't listen to my mom, and I signed up for the National Guard in New Jersey. And on August 27th, 1991, which is my birthday, everybody does it on their birthday. Why not me? I do it on my birthday. Right. So, and I was enrolled in the SMP program, the simultaneous membership program, as a National Guardsman, and I decided to stay in school. And while I was in school, that's when I met Master Sergeant, later Sergeant Major James E. Rudolph, and he convinced me to take a few ROTC scholarships. I didn't even go as an ROTC scholarship. I just went as an ROTC dude, and went through the program. And so happened I got commissioned. But I truly don't know, because if anybody knows the North Jersey and Central Jersey, that is not the bed of people not only going to the military, but making a career at the military. But not only that, but going into special operations. People from East Orange, New Jersey, or Long Branch, New Jersey, they just don't do that. So it was a special calling, I think, for me to do something different.
And I want to get into your special operations and some of the things you did and kind of lessons learned, but I want to pitch it over to Lakeisha here for any questions or comments.
Yes, I definitely have a question about just what you just said, talking about the special operations. What inspires you to go into that? Because I felt like that's a special service, to go into. You don't have to, but I felt like there was something that really wanted, you wanted to achieve that mission in the military. So let us know about that.
So we've all heard about the Rangers and the Green Berets and the Navy SEALs and just all the cool guys. So coming out of the Captain's Advanced course, I got the opportunity to go to 7 Special Forces Group as an intel officer at the group level, at the 06 level. You have battalions and you have teams, companies and teams and so forth. And later, I was there, and later, maybe 2 years later, I went down to 2nd Battalion, 7 Special Forces Group, and I just saw these guys, regular guys like me. They could do push-ups, could run fast, jump out of airplanes. I jump out of airplanes too. And I said, you know what? I had a chance. Let me give that a shot. Also, I saw a captain by the name of Tony Fletcher, Captain Tony Fletcher, who's now Lieutenant General Fletcher. But wow. I saw a captain. Yeah, I saw a captain. Captain Fletcher. He and another were the only 2 blacks at the time that I saw in 7 Special Forces Group. And it kind of became a challenge to me. I saw him, and I also saw a guy by the name of Colonel or Brigadier General retired, then Colonel Remo Butler. I heard about this guy, and I had an opportunity to meet him. And just being around them, seeing their representation, their professionalism, coupled with, I'm as good as these other soldiers, inspired me to go through the selection program and later through the special operations qualification course, special forces qualification course.
That's really amazing, just to be able to uplift everything that you want to achieve. So I'm glad that you voiced that for us, because that's going to add it to your amazing career in the military. So I believe that addition meaningful for us all here.
I do want to add on to that. So I think this is very powerful. And veterans, listen up. Because this is one of the things that I emphasize a lot on when I chaired employee resource groups from Latino to veterans. I would bring in folks like retired Colonel here, Dr. Lawrence Henry, because I want my veterans to look at him and say, I can do that too. If he did it, I can do it. A lot of times, and Dr. Lawrence, I talked about this, is when you don't see someone in the film industry or on a professional setting, whether at a Fortune 500 company or in politics, then you don't feel like there's that you can do it, right? And now he just demonstrated to us something very historic. One of the few individuals to exceed something and challenge and raise the bar. I look at it as raising the bar and raising the standard. In fact, again, there are no coincidence. I watched the movie yesterday, Men of Honor, with Cuba Gooding Jr. Great film. It is not. I did not plan it out. I'm telling you, things just work that way. Right. So let's talk about real quick about your military service, and then we'll get into the other conquest, as I like to call that you had here. So what did you learn from serving in the military, and how are you applying that to the civilian world, right? I want my veterans here to take away that, because the transition is one of the toughest things that we go through, right? Some services do really well, some don't. Till this day, I still say I'm a Marine, right? I'm out 12 years, maybe the Air Force. From one day to the other, they're like, first name basis, and they're ready to go, right? Some services do really well. So I really want to talk about that. Like, what did you learn? What are some of the leadership lessons that you are applying? And then let's talk about the transition part.
Yes. So what I learned was it's the power in the partnership. It's the power in the partnership. In special operations, the higher you ascend, you see how small we really are in relation to the Army and the Department of Defense. So how do you build rapport, make friends, understand common goals, common objectives, divergent goals and divergent objectives, how do we work together in a team in a unified manner to achieve a particular goal, objective, and so forth. That was, how is me as a special forces guy, a candy store owner, selling jackets and purses. How do I understand that person over there has access and placement to people and things that I don't, but we share a common goal of feeding our communities or so forth. So how do we get together and move together as a team in an interdependent manner, or how do we converge resources on a certain topic, on a certain area, to create a particular effect? So that's one of the things I learned. Never quit. Always opportunity. Actually, in conflict, the harder the conflict is, if you're watching a boxing match and they're throwing, and the guys is throwing gloves hard, there's this one chance. There's an opportunity there for an underdog to land the shot. So how do we stay in the fight? Stay in the fight. Don't abandon the fundamentals and wait for that shot. And once the opportunity presents itself, put everything you can into that shot, because you may not ever get it again. And that's what I faced that several times in my career. I'm not from West Point. I'm not from the Citadel. I'm a Black man from East Orange, New Jersey, that graduated 1.7 GPA, whose mother who was on government aid growing up. Okay, had another brother. He did relatively well. Did not go to a big time school, and just kind of just powered my way. However, I identified relationships, systems, and functions that could benefit me, and not in a selfish manner, but it benefited the Army. It benefited the institution. So how do you do that? And that gets beyond the science. That gets to the artistry of being a military officer. That's the artistry of being an NCO. That's the artistry of being a professional in this very complicated and volatile world that we live in. So how do we understand the power in the partnership, and how do we understand opportunities? And oh, by the way, lastly, you didn't get there on your own. The higher you climb on the ladder of success, Lieutenant General Charles T. Cleveland, former USASOC commander, told me, Hank, that's what they call me in the military, Hank Henry. The higher you climb on the ladder of success, the more your hind parts, he didn't say hind parts, but the more your hind parts are going to show. So people are going to take shots at you. Well, I took it another level. I said, well, the higher I climb, the lower I'm going to stoop to raise somebody up. Because I didn't get there by myself. I spoke about Tony Fletcher. I spoke about Remo Butler. I didn't speak about Ed Reeder or Jeff Waddell or others that believed in me, gave me opportunities, even though I made mistakes. And I made some poor choices, which are very different. Mistakes versus choices, which I speak to young people about that. You got to make less choices, but mistakes people will kind of train you and coach you to get you through. So those are some of the things that I learned, the leadership lessons. Humility is the most powerful weapon as a senior leader. You didn't get here by yourself. You're not that good. Everybody knows when you were a captain. Everybody knows when you were a PFC, a sergeant, and you went totally the opposite direction. So be humble and listen versus, and also lastly, hearing versus listening. We hear everything going on. I can hear the buzz in the room, in somebody's room right now, and somebody can hear things going on. But how do we painfully listen to not each other, but the environment around us, so we can make better choices? And that's what I learned as a senior leader. And that's what I'm learning. That's what I'm teaching myself today. I actually write in my notebook, learn to listen. Listen harder. Listen harder. Not only with your ears, but with your eyes, your fingertips, your smell. everything, be an active listener. So that's what I learned as a leader.
Okay, mic drop. Another mic drop here. Mic drop moment. I hope you're all taking pictures and writing this down like I am in my notebook. What I heard from you, Dr. Lawrence, is your passion, your ability to fight, your ability to never quit with any obstacle that you have faced up to now in your military service. Yes. And veterans, I think that is something for you all to take away here, because we are going to be faced with obstacles throughout our entire life. It doesn't matter. No one is going to escape it. So you might as well learn to equip yourself and go through the fire so you can become forged in the fire. Because that is where your purpose is going to be waiting for you. If you don't go through it, then you're just going to be inside your home all day, and you're never going to realize your true potential, which is what Dr. Lawrence right now is demonstrating to us here. So I want to pitch it over, because I'm fired up, to Lakeisha Mosley for any comments or questions.
Absolutely. So, with the transition stage that you realized that you were going to be transitioning, what are the benefits that you want to share with others, and how they can actually achieve that success as well too? Do they need to read books? Do they need to connect in a different way? Do they need to get a mentor or anything like that? What do you feel that is needed for them to be able to elevate and be able to persevere through transition?
He may have froze a little bit, so just give us a little bit, and then we'll get to it. But I just real quick, I think this has been a phenomenal conversation, and if you are listening here today, please ask your questions. You may have an opportunity after the show, at the after show, to ask this opportunity to Dr. Lawrence Henry, because what I hope for you guys here who are listening right now is that everything he is saying, I want you all to listen a little more closely to what he's saying, because he is telling you the blueprint to achieve success in life when you get out of the service, right? He talked about listening. He talked about the mentors he had in his life. He talked about the humility he had in his life. I think those are some very powerful things here. So now that we have him back up, I'll let Lakeisha repeat her question, and then we'll continue the show from there. Over to Lakeisha.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jeffrey. So, Colonel, I would like to know, just in the midst of your transition, as you began to go through that process, what do you believe that other veterans and other supporters need to do in order to have that same success? Do you think they need to read a book? Do they need to get a mentor? Do they need to get a different change of thinking for them to be able to persevere that? Because a lot of times they may feel scared and may feel like they can't do it. What was your transition process?
Yeah. Let me start with the mentorship in the network. Unlike a lot of my peers, had mentorships, had networks. No disrespect to anyone that had that. That is a resource that I wish I had, because I had to kind of make a lot of mistakes. I had to stumble around like many of us, but stay on the path. Stay on the path. Create a goal, and be courageous in attaining that goal. I believe that I had to know what Mr. Henry liked versus what Colonel Henry liked. I had to understand what Dr. Henry was into, opposed to Colonel Henry, because Colonel Henry, February 29th, 2020. He no longer existed. And March 1st, I couldn't go back into the SOCOM headquarters. I couldn't go back to these places and expect to be treated and do what I've done for the last 20 years as a Green Beret. No. So that's where I think I failed at. I think I didn't. I think maybe sometimes the institution, it works us to the very end. To that last 6 months of that last year, we don't know who Mr. Sanchez is, opposed to Chief Warrant Sanchez. Who is Sergeant? Who is Lily Brown versus Sergeant Major Brown? So I had to learn that the hard way. I had to learn that the hard way. And, it wasn't about a job, because when I came out, I had a job, but what was a job that I was willing to commit to, to enjoy for the rest of my life? So I had to, my wife hates when I say this, I had to transform from being Colonel Henry the killer to Dr. Henry the healer. Because that's what a doctor is, what a doctor does. If you just could pass a test and write a beautiful 400-page paper, and don't do anything with it except prostitute it for money, then that's exactly what you are.
Wow.
But if you can't go out in the streets, where people are not afforded opportunities, not afforded the same chances you have, and facilitate social, economic, medical healing, then you're a true doctor. It doesn't matter what school or what institution that you graduated from. So that's why I had to get in touch with who Mr. Lawrence, who Dr. Lawrence was. And I think for our veterans that are transitioning, the quicker that you identify who you are. I mean, you may be Sergeant Major Brown, and when you transition, you're still Sergeant Major Brown. And you still doing that thing as Sergeant Major Brown has done, but maybe not. Maybe not. So we have to identify who you are. Who are you ready to be for the rest of your life? Who are you? And quite frankly, Special Forces enabled me to do that. The motto, "De oppressor liber," to liberate the oppressed. It's in the words. So it's not about shooting, blowing buildings up and show me your hands and jumping out of airplanes. It's by going to places where people can't do for themselves. So how do we enable them? Not do it for them. How do we enable them? And how do we allow them to solve problems, complex problems on their own? And we just give them a little tap. We give them a little bump tap. So that's important. So I actually took that and put that in my life. Now, as I spoke to Ms. Mosley earlier, when I wrote my dissertation, some people may have thought, oh, well, you've been to combat, you've done this thing with the Special Forces, you're going to write on the next Special Forces or U.S. policy or this thing. No, I actually wrote about a silent dilemma that challenges Black collegiate women face disclosing sexual victimization. Yes, this was Colonel Henry. Colonel Henry wrote about that. And soon after I retired, my dissertation was published. I graduated in May 2020. So I'm all about healing those who cannot help themselves. And I'm going to speak about later, I go into unique environments, including the correctional facilities, and actually assist them walking out with honor and pride to reenter society. So those are some of the things that I would just encourage our veteran population to do. Find out who you are before the door closes.
Wow. Dr. Lawrence, Colonel, thank you so much. Thank you so much for support for identity and purpose.
I'll put friend in that too.
Friend, my friend, our friend.
Yes, ma'am.
My brother. Appreciate you.
Powerful veterans. Please, if there's anything here, what he is saying is he now has a new mission, right? He found a new mission and he found a new calling. By the way, for those of you listening or watching this live, you can go to his website, drlawrencehenry.com, and you can learn about all the books that he's published, learn about his bio, and all the great, amazing things that he has accomplished. And I noticed the theme coming up about healing, physician, going through some type of crisis. And like I was sharing with you all in the backstage here, my sister was diagnosed with breast cancer on my third tour in Afghanistan. And when I came back home to visit her, she was wearing a wig. She's a teacher, by the way. Shout out to all the teachers, one of the most underpaid organizations in America, even though we all came and learned from the ultimate teacher, Jesus Christ. She had this vision board that kept her going. She wanted a family. She wanted these things for her career. And that's what kept her going. And what Dr. Lawrence here has demonstrated to me is something caused him to be this ambassador that he is today. He had to go through another challenge that is no different from when he went to the military. It's just, it looks a little different. It's invisible. We don't see it. It's inside of our body here. So Dr. Lawrence, please share this battle that you just conquered, because I want my veterans to know if you go through any sickness, there's an ability to have this unwavering faith that can get you through it. But I want you guys to share with us what this I'm not even going to name it, this sickness that was temporary in your body that you fought through, and by the grace of God, you have defeated it. Please tell us.
Yes, sir. Well, I discovered this sickness, which some may call cancer, in my body shortly after I retired from the military. This is after the medical checks. This is after the colonoscopies, the endoscopies, the this, the that. You know that you can't retire unless you're medically fit to retire. That's important. Well, how I discovered. Let me take you on a journey of how I discovered I had cancer. I felt like I had a lot of gas, and you know, as a combat soldier. I know, Jeff, you could kind of speak to this. Marine, you're gonna have a lot of gas. You've been a lot of you vet right there. That was in Korea, that was in Japan, that was in South and Central America, that was in Afghanistan, Iraq. You had gas, a lot of gas, because you probably were eating things that that didn't culturally sometimes agree with you. So you had gas, and and my wife would tell you, I have a lot of, I've had a lot of gas, and I had a lot of gas then, but it was nothing abnormal. And this is how this enemy hides. He hides behind, ailments that you would perceive as common. Gas, okay, I'm a gassy guy. Also, I started having like blood in my stool. Well, I mean, I've slept outside a lot, and hemorrhoids, and a lot of combat soldiers got hemorrhoids. So you might have a couple of rough times back there. So, okay, a little blood here and there, gas, that, no problem. Okay, and with gas, it's a little pain, but this pain just started getting more and more like pain beyond what I could take. So my wife said one day, she was like, "Listen, I need you to get a colonoscopy." I was like, "Well, I just had a colonoscopy." Again, me being a man, me being Hank, me being Colonel Henry, still Colonel Henry, not yet Dr. Henry just yet. But I'm out. I just had a colonoscopy. It's just a little gas. I'll take some Tums. I'll self-medicate myself and get through it. Kept on, got worse. You got to be obedient. That's one step of being a child of God, is you have to be obedient. You have to be submissive. And I don't care if the truth comes from a frog in the swamp. The truth is the truth, and the truth came from her mouth. You need to go get a colonoscopy. So I thank God for my wife for saving my life, because she just whispered that, and the woman knows how to speak to you, to kind of encourage you, I would say, influence you to do the right thing. So I went to the doctors and did the colonoscopy, and as some of us veterans know, as some of us know, that's the best sleep you ever got in your life. That little 15 minutes, that's the best sleep you've got in your life. So I'm coming out of it. I'm still, influenced by the drugs. And the doctor came with a very serious look on her face. And she says, "You have a malignant tumor in your colon." And I was like, "That's interesting. I never heard that before." But I'm still eating graham crackers and drinking ginger ale. I mean, I'm hungry, because my wife was, she had a very stern look on her face. And I looked at her like, "What are you so upset about?" And the doctor mentioned that, we have to take some tests, and it came back that colon cancer was that malignant tumor was stage 3C colon cancer. I'm gonna say that again. That malignant tumor in my colon on this side was a cancerous tumor, stage 3C, it goes to stage D and 4. Once 4, it's a very unique environment. It was trying to bust the pain I was feeling. It was trying to bust through the colon to get into the body. Okay, that's what this enemy was trying to do. It was trying to break through the colon to get into the body to contaminate the rest of my body. So by God's grace and mercy, we caught it in time. And the doctor said, well, we'll perform a resection, as far as we'll perform surgery and cut that portion of your colon out. So the whole side of my colon is taken out. It's been extracted. One whole side of my colon is gone. But they said that some of the cancerous cancer went into my lymph nodes, so I had to endure 12 treatments of chemotherapy, and that was a unique experience, and I don't wish that on anyone. But staying obedient, because again, if I had it my way, Colonel Henry, Hank would have been like, I'm gonna tough this out, and we wouldn't be having this conversation today. And I will ask some of our veterans, if you are over the age of, if you are at 40 years old, run. Make the phone call Monday and make your appointment to get your colonoscopy if you haven't gotten one yet. And some of us haven't. So, if you care for your family, if you care for your community, if you care for others that love you, I didn't mention about caring for yourself. If you care about people who love you, I ask you to do not delay and get that examination immediately. That's from the Colonel.
I want to thank you for sharing that. Can you share some stats? Approximately how many people succumb to this enemy? Is it more common in men than it is in women?
Well, colon cancer is a very, very quiet cancer. And so usually when people find out they have it, it's too late. It's too late. I don't know specifically the statistics that go through, but what I didn't tell you is that my colon cancer was combat related. It was environmentally related. The unique environments in which I served. That's why break. A lot of that have not signed up for the burn pit, sign up today. Because the places I've been in Afghanistan and Iraq in 2002, 2003, before it kind of got a little bit more modern, it was very primitive. And we burnt everything. I mean, that was our TV. So I had combat related intestinal cancer. So I say all that to say, a lot of our environments in which we live in as veterans, Newark, New Jersey, you live right next to the airport, you live right next to 95, you live right next, not too far from the harbor or the dock. So therefore, you are ingesting daily toxins, that can facilitate chronic diseases that are comparable to environments such as Afghanistan or Iraq. Baltimore. No disrespect to any cities or towns. I'm just going off the head where I know what 95, the Highway 95 runs through, and it's right off the harbor, right off the water, and it's very industrialized. Like in Newark, New Jersey, you have the chemical factories there, the old Budweiser factory. So all these are spewing chemicals in the air, and you are ingesting all these chemicals, and it's having an effect on you and your children. And unfortunately, a lot of people who live in this area are members of underserved communities, Black, brown, people that, can't afford to live in other areas. Therefore, this is where they're at, to include our veterans. They go back to their communities, and now what they probably experienced in combat is further exacerbated by living in these unique environments and creating chronic situations for them and their families.
I have a few comments and questions, but I want to pitch it over to Lakeisha here because this is first of all, I was not aware that the burn pit, there was a correlation between the burn pit and developing a combat-related disease like what you just described here. So thank you, Joe. Oh, by the way, I will put it up here again. Veterans, there's a burn pit registry here that you guys can go to and inform yourselves more about this because I'm just learning about this right now here. So Lakeisha, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Jeffrey. You know what, Dr. Lawrence, my friend, I appreciate you so much. I'm from Detroit, Michigan.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm from the Motor City, so you know where I'm going.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
know about just being in an environment where you're consuming so much toxins, it's floating in the air, literally going on the highways, you smell it, you smell this toxic, experiences, but you know what? You work through it because you live there. So
Yes,
you pretty much, it's non-existent after a while, but you realize that it's a common killer. So I want to talk about this, but your advocacy work, being an ambassador, right? So being an ambassador that you are and just connecting the dots when you know that there's so many people that need to hear this message because like I said, this is June, this is Men's Health Month. This is a honor for men to really be able to focus on taking care of themselves. A lot of times we're not taking care of ourselves commonly as a male, mostly because it's not in our forefront. We got things to do. We got businesses to run. So just bringing that out there, bringing awareness and that's for others to be able to understand that. My question to you is being an advocate and being a conqueror and actually able to get the voice out. I feel that, you're doing that right now in Morehouse House of Medicine and actually able to connect the dots there. What do you want us to understand and how to be able to get the word out from our environment, wherever you're located? Doesn't matter. Like you said, it doesn't matter to make sure that we are having self-care and self-love for ourselves as men, and beyond.
I wish you asked me an easier question.
This is a loaded question because we need to know this. I need it. Yes. Yes. But I knew you're going to be able to answer it.
In addition to Men's Health Month, it is also PTSD and gun violence.
Yes.
Okay. I by God's grace and mercy, not because of anything I did, I survived cancer by the suggestion of a saint called my wife. So that being the case, I have to be an advocate. I have to be an advocate. I can't not be an advocate. I can't just take that victory and just go out there and do what I want to do. Who the heck do I think I am? I gotta go to places where people don't have the access. I gotta go into the juvenile detention centers. I gotta go into the jails. I gotta go into the Black Bottom Detroits. I gotta go into the Newark, New Jerseys and South Dallases, where we just point our fingers and say, "Oh, the air condition is so bad over there." Well, what are you doing to try to help out? What are you doing to try to reduce just a stressful factor, which is another aspect which adds to the Black and brown people and chronic diseases, the level of stress in their diets, food deserts, which we had in Afghanistan and Iraq, comparable to Detroit, Newark, Baltimore, Chicago, San Francisco. Okay, so with that, I encourage that that we do. Being a Morehouse School of Medicine ambassador, I have to take it a little bit. It's not like they say, "Hey, Dr. Lawrence, we appreciate you, and I heard that you did a lot of great stuff, and we want you to be an ambassador." No, it wasn't that easy. I actually, after getting my PhD, after a couple of life experiences, a good friend of mine, Dr. Regina Brown, she mentioned about this online program that Morehouse School of Medicine was having. It was a master's in justice-involved care. And a justice-impacted person is where healthcare intersects with the criminal justice system. So how are people in jail once they enter jail or prison that we can diagnose them in a holistic manner? A job just is not going to get it. A house is just not going to get it. They may be suffering from identity issues, chronic issues, contagious issues, mental health issues, job issues, transportation issues. A friend of mine a few days ago said he met a man in a plane in California, and the guy was began to be agitated. And when they landed in New York, they landed in Dallas. The guy had to go to New York. The guy had a paper ticket. Long story short, this guy just came out of federal prison that day. They put him on a plane to go to New York to go and check into his halfway house. He had to check in by 8:00. And he was frantic that he was not going to make it, because if he didn't make it, they would put time on him and he had to spend another 30 days in jail. So this guy had a paper ticket. He didn't know he's been in prison so long that technology has gone right by him. And Dallas airport is one of the more complicated, Atlanta, Dallas, these are more complicated airports in America. And for him to navigate that, it was just a recipe for him to fail. So how is my organization, A Bridge to Light, focus, as Jeffrey mentioned, how do we focus on disrupting the school to prison pipeline and enabling those who are formerly incarcerated a more seamless re-entry into society? How do we walk with the justice impacted person while they're incarcerated and walk them and assist them through all the various forms of healthcare to get them healthy or get care? And then as they go through those doors, we don't leave them there, because that's what happens. They go through all of these therapeutic aspects while incarcerated, and then once they get out, the world is there with all its drama and pressure, and frustration kicks in, and depression kicks in, and violence kicks in, and before you know it, he or she, the black she, her rates as far as going to prison are increasing daily. So how do we facilitate, the reduction in recidivism by being that bridge to light and staying with them? So the men's health piece, it goes beyond, just giving them drugs and so forth. As I mentioned before, we have to get beyond, and I'm working on this. I'm actually studying this. We have to get beyond self-esteem and get to self-worth. And I think that will help us get into a better place with mental health.
Wow. Dr. Lawrence, thank you so much for that answer. It's really saving lives right now.
And I appreciate, and shout out for those of you that want to know more about his mission and want to get involved. It's called A Bridge to Light, and you can go to the Euro down here in the little ticker that they have here. So I want to know real quick, from you became an ambassador because of the issues that you had encountered. Mm-hmm. Is there a story during that period of rebuilding, right? From retired colonel to now I'm dealing with another battle, which is stage 3 colon cancer. Was there a moment or a story where you realized I have to get the word out, right? Because sometimes what happens, and I realized this, and we were talking about this last week, we have all these gifts, right? This is a gift that you are now sharing. You turned something that was negative into a positive. Many times when folks go through these things, they hold it inside. They hold the information. It's like, no, you're robbing the world of an actual opportunity to learn and to become aware. Wow. So was there a story or a moment in that process, and you said, I have to get the word out? I have to. Was it faith? Was it a mentor? Like, what was it?
My life is the story. Again, being Joya's son. At the end of the day, I'm Joya's son. I'm the kid, from Park Avenue. I'm the kid with the 1.7 GPA. And how do I reach those people? That's important. That's important. You know? So as I laid in the hospital bed, I said, I've been gifted. I've been showered with so many opportunities, so many chances, and my obedience allowed me to live. So the story was I just said to myself one day, I can't keep this. I can't keep this. I gotta go to the little Larry or the little Laverne with the 1.7. I gotta go with the one that was struggling with identity issues, struggling with violence, struggling with all the pressures of the world, and try to bring me and my network. As I mentioned, Ms. Mosley, how do we make the net work? Okay, how do we make the net work? I care less about First Friday socials, and I'm dressed in my a beautiful suit, and I have my business card, and I'm going out dropping cards here and there. And some people drink, I don't drink, and you get nothing out of it in a networking function. No, how do I take my unique network and how do I make it work to further facilitate us creating more decent and safer places to live, and opportunities for people who didn't have it. So that moment is when I said, I'm alive. I didn't die, but a part of me did die. The wrong part of me died, and I also see that cancer as God taking all the inconsistencies of righteousness and balled it up and put it in my colon and said, I'm going to give you an opportunity, just like he's giving everybody. I'm going to give you a chance here. I'm going to give you the free will. Either you're going to comply with me, you're going to be obedient, or you're going to defect and continue to be Colonel Henry. And if you be Colonel Henry, they'll give you a 21 gun salute at your funeral, and it'll be beautiful, I'm sure. They'll bury you in the uniform and all that stuff. Or you continue to be my servant and spread this word. Be obedient. So I believe that's another piece that cancer turned into a ball of all the inconsistencies of life, and it gave me an opportunity either to be obedient or be defiant.
Powerful veterans. I hope you're listening to what he's saying here, right? Because immediately what came to mind is when he said obedience and he said servant. When we go through boot camp, we are no longer that civilian name we had anymore. Now we are getting broken down because we need to work as a team, as a unit, as one fight. Dr. Lawrence got broken down, and now the Father has revealed who his actual true self, who he has been. He went through all these trials and tribulations, and now he has become an ambassador to serve you all. He could have probably got some big old Fortune 500 gig at the C level in a C-suite, but he said, no, I'm going to bring one more up with me. I'm going to give him a hand up, not a handout. And I want to thank him for coming on today, because this is going to be a multi-series. I just feel it. We need Dr. Lawrence on our team. He is someone that I think a lot of us can learn from. I do want to give the floor over to Keisha for one more question for the live show before we proceed to the after show here. So, Lakeisha, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Jeffrey. My final question to you, just with everything that we have learned about you and how we can persevere, how we can move forward, what is the last final advice would you give to young men, the young people, the ones that are just starting out in the military that want to join and really want to achieve success? What is the word of wisdom that you would give to them for them to be impactful to continue on with their journey moving ahead?
Well, before I get to the youngsters, I'm gonna get to the older guys. Reach out and grab yourself a mentee, because he doesn't know. She doesn't know. Okay, I didn't know. The mentor chooses the mentee. It's not the other way around. Although I want to be aligned with that guy or that lady, he chooses to invest his time and expertise into me. So I will ask the seniors, the graybeards on this line, or if you know some graybeards, or you know some master sergeants, you know some captains or majors or warrants, or just good people in this in the community, get them to our young soldiers, because they're competing with not so much more than just a war over the shore. They're competing with just all the toxins that they are ingesting, not only through their mouth, but through their ears and eyes. Okay, they're battling that. They're battling that daily. They're showing up for formation. They're doing this. I'm seeing videos, not saying anything about the chain of command, but I'm seeing videos of soldiers doing things in uniform that probably would not have been tolerated when we were in uniform. And it's just to get a like or a share. Okay, so us mentors have to take on the responsibility to guide them right. Maybe the military is not the place for them, and that's fine. They serve their time, but how do we create a bridge to light for them to get to, so they can facilitate their self-actualization? That's important. If we don't do that, then who are we? So my question is, and I asked Miss Mosley this. I said, listen, I don't want to get away off cheap. Okay, give me a problem. I want to help you, whoever you are out there. I want to help you solve a problem. When you go to my website, drlawrencehenry.com, the first question on there is, how can I help you solve a problem? How can I help you? And if I can't help you solve a problem, my network, I will introduce you to somebody else to facilitate that. Listen, I wear this T-shirt with pride and honor. There's another T-shirt I can't wear. It says expletive cancer. So I can't wear that. But I wear this. And this word cancer is so much greater than something that attacks your organs, but it's the cancer of the world. How are they defending ourselves over cancerous environments that could kill us spiritually, emotionally, psychologically? How are we surrounding ourselves with good people to help us fight a good fight to defeat the cancer of life? So that's all. I mean, I don't know if I answered your question, but I just started talking.
That was perfect, Dr. Lawrence. Thank you so much for answering that. Definitely for us, so we can continue to build. We need to be in a mentorship, and I appreciate you. I definitely appreciate you. I'm gonna say that again. I appreciate you.
She definitely does appreciate it, right? I appreciate you too, Dr. Lawrence. I appreciate that. So, one final takeaway, and I'm going to get it forward to Dr. Lawrence here. I appreciate all the comments coming in. I hope you are taking notes like I am. Like I said, we will have an after show, and I hope Dr. Lawrence can join us here for that live Q&A, where you may get the opportunity to talk to him. I got to check his schedule. We got to see if he has an opportunity after this. But I want you to take away what he just said. He said the cancer of life. He didn't say health. He didn't say his title. He didn't say a fancy car. He said the cancer of life. What he's really saying is there's an invisible enemy that is taking us on spiritually, right? We got to be sharp between here. We got to stay sharp on our bodies. We got to stay sharp on our mind, right? Mind, body, spirit. They all connect here. And when we are able to get those things in rhythm, aka a battle rhythm, now let's go take those out into the field. Now he's talking about communities that we should lift up and upbring and empower. That is called being a servant and an ambassador. And that is what he's doing now. He is not, it's funny, when you were talking about fighting, you reminded me kind of Muhammad Ali, right? He's just fighting the good fight all the time, right? He's not stopping. Can you feel his energy and his passion? Like, it reminds me of my late father here, who up until his day, he had that fight in him. Why? Because he survived multiple attempts on his life, not just on the battlefield, but off the battlefield. And so he is not going to let some comment or some negative comment or someone get between his mind and disrupt his flow. He's now going to use that as a light. what a powerful, powerful story that we learned here today, ladies and gentlemen. So, retired Colonel Dr. Lawrence Henry, I'm going to give you the floor for any final comments.
Well, I'd just like to thank you and your co-host for allowing me just to share, about 16 minutes with this group. And I am your brother. I am your friend. And please contact me, just to say, hey, we have a motto at A Bridge to Light. It's called, we believe everyone and everything is a resource. It takes networks of progression to defeat networks of oppression. So how do we make the net work? Okay. Everyone and everything is a resource. The truth comes in sometimes the weirdest packages. So we have to pay attention. We have to listen and stop hearing everything, but go through the painful process of listening. Again, and it takes networks of progression to defeat networks of oppression. So how do we make the net work? Thank you so very much. This has been such a illuminating period in my life. Just to have this free discussion with such two great people, and I look forward to helping you in the near future. And I look forward for you helping me in the near future. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lawrence Henry. Again, thank you for spending some time today. I will share one last thing with you guys. When we booked all of our shows for June, Dr. Lawrence and I actually had a conversation in May. So this is how the bookings went down. We had one booking at the end of June, done. We had two more bookings in the beginning of June. And it was between Dr. Lawrence and our next guest next week on who was going to be booked for today and next week. Well, our guest chose next week. Dr. Lawrence fell into today. I didn't plan this out because guess what? Tomorrow is Father's Day. So that means God wanted him today to share his story with you all, men. And I hope you can listen and give it to the youngsters as well, because we don't plan these things. These things are already planned for us. We just got to make sure that we are aware and alive to be able to receive those blessings like we are today. So God bless you guys. Veterans Club signing out. We hope to see some of you guys after the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you.